beautiful evening to you, and thanks for staying tuned. You are welcome to a Stitching Time on Sunrise FM 96.1. My name is Precious Chukwekezie. This is your precious friend on radio, and I'm glad to welcome you to today's edition of A Stitch in Time. So, today we will be focusing on minimum wage and market dynamics. We'll be looking at how the current economic situation in Nigeria is affecting not just the workers but also businesses, and then the economy as a whole, broader economy. So it's affecting every single person. Nobody is said to be safe at this point in time. So I want you to join us as we unravel the intricacies of minimum wage impact and then discuss strategies for achieving a fair and sustainable economic sustainability. So today on the program to discuss minimum wage and market dynamics, we have in the studio the Trade Union Congress Chairman in Enugu State. I'm talking about none other but Dr. Ben Asogwa. So we're glad to welcome you to the program today.
All right, thank you for having me. Whenever I appear in the studio as a labor leader, I should better be addressed as Comrade Ben Asogwa.
Oh, okay, that's right. so I take that. We have in the studio Comrade Ben Asogwa. We're glad to have you once again, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's taken. Okay, so sir, as we move on, could you share with us your perspective on why increasing the minimum wage at this point is crucial at this and how it aligns with the interests of workers, not just workers but also businesses and the business owners.
All right, when you look at the issue of minimum wage, looking at it from the perspective of the law says it should be reviewed every 5 years. And the law did not tell you whether the review will be upward or downwards. That implies it can go either ways. Is the economic circumstances in terms of inflation, exchange rate, and other indices that you consider that determine whether you are going up or down. And looking at the economic scenario today, we all know that you cannot even be talking about going down, but the extent of going upwards. And we're also considering the timing. You find out that the level of inflation that has occurred between 2019, that was when we had the present minimum wage, or what I would rather refer to as expired minimum wage, which is 30,000 naira. If you look at the inflation rate from that point till now, you agree with me that there is no other time for one to talk about salary increase than this particular period. In fact, it's long overdue. And that was complicated by fuel subsidy removal. You know that our economy revolves around the petroleum aspect, that is fuel. So, and anything that has to do with power has so much effect on the economy of every country, particularly for a country like ours, where we seem to be running a mono economy. We are so much dependent on petroleum, on crude, and whatever affects the cost within the system will always indicate how the cost of other things go. And when we look at the data we have in the country, they may be giving you inflation rate at 30-something percent. But for us Nigerians, we know that it cannot be so. If you look at what you bought rice, maybe in 2019 when we had 30,000 minimum wage, and what it is today, you agree with me that we cannot even be talking about something within 30% or 30-something percent. No, it has multiplied. And when we now consider the worst part of it, which is PMS, petroleum motor spirit, the cost of it in 2019 and what it is today, from about 100 and something naira, it jumped up to what we have. And as it is in the petroleum industry today, you cannot even practically say that this is the petroleum pump price we have, because you go around even within a state and you discover that if you have 10 petroleum stations, there may be 10 prices, because each filling station now sells at their own discretion. There is no much price control anymore. And if we could move from 100 and something naira to about 700 and something that we have majorly in the in the petroleum stations, that would tell you that it is high time we even brought out something tangible as minimum wage. And when you look at exchange rate also, what was the exchange rate in 2019 and what is it today? A dollar, or rather a dollar, goes for as much as 1,000 something naira, more than 1,400, let me put it that way. And when you consider that, you also see the level of percentage increase. And generally, cost of living all through has become so clear to us that even when we are debating on whether it should be 62,000 naira or 225 naira, so many people think that those of us from the labor leadership are self-centered, that we're just looking at workers. But it's not that way. Why the business person there is better than a worker is that if he buys at 10 naira and the cost goes up to 15 naira, he will start selling at the present cost. Even if he has bought that thing before the increase, he would even make better profit.
Of course.
And that is just the reality. A good number of them are even soaring higher because of the flexibility of prices. Because you can go and buy it today, and as he's getting back, he will call and they say, the price has jumped up.
Of course.
And if you look at the cost of all these things, it's never going down. We have got to a level of economic mess such that no commodity in the market is going down. Everything keeps going up on hourly basis. So if you go in the morning to buy something, go back in the evening, you may not get it the same price. So, and no matter the strength of negotiation you have, you will always come back sweating.
Yeah.
So, and that tells you that we are not even wrong in the first place for demanding for 225,000.
250.
Sorry, 225,000 naira. 225,000, I think.
Okay, at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
Or call it 250,000, because the adjustment I'm talking about is not for public consumption.
Okay.
It's 250,000 naira.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, that is not okay. Let's mention, if you look at countries, African countries for that matter, and their minimum wage, you find out that none of them is paying anything less than maybe $160. And when you change $160,
which is far more than the 250,000
to naira, what will it give to you? What will it give? That is one thing that people have not actually calculated. They think that we just got up and started quoting any amount that comes into the head. No, you look at the market indices and parameters, in fact, other variables, and we are not even going to be buoyant by receiving 250,000 naira. So, when the politicians keep saying we cannot pay, I don't want to go into so many other things right now. Let me just stop at the point you asked me the question, because this is the right time for it. It's long overdue, and Nigerian workers are eager and expectant to receive new wage, because what they have today is nothing to write home about. They have endured enough, and as we talk, there are even so many states in the country that are not paying anything like palliative. So for those of us in Enugu, we may say that we are not worse off, because at least the governor was magnanimous enough to have approved 25,000 naira for the state workers every month, and he has been paying from December 2023. He also approved 10,000 naira for local government workers. It might not be wonderful, but at least it gives us hope that things will get better. But you go to some states and find out that they are virtually doing nothing. Even as we talk, some of the state governors are yet to implement 30,000 naira minimum wage. Some of them are implementing it in error.
So it's going to even be a problem by the time the new minimum wages are agreed on.
And that is why we are also pushing for government to strengthen the law on minimum wage. For instance, if there is a law on minimum wage that says if you fail to implement new minimum wage, maybe 6 months after its approval, your federal allocation will be ceased
Yeah.
until you begin to pay.
that
If that
would
is
help.
done, it will be better than what we have presently. For the 2019 minimum wage law, it only says if you fail to pay, it's 500,000 naira. That is so insignificant. If you were a governor and the only thing you lose is 500,000 naira
They
for
will
not paying
willingly
minimum
give
wage. In fact, you can waive that and start paying 500,000 every month, because that is it has no economic effect on you as a governor.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, the Labour and the federal government, they have not come to an agreement. The federal government is still standing at 62,000 naira, and Labour and the union is still at 250,000. So, as we were waiting for them to come to an agreement, during plenary on Tuesday, we saw that the Federal Executive Council stepped down the memo on the report of the tripartite committee on the new minimum wage. So, what is the implication of this stepping down?
In the first place, it goes to tell you how unprepared those people were before coming into government. Because if they were actually prepared, before they came in the year 2023, they already knew that minimum wage was going to expire. And they set up this committee long before. In fact, the law says 6 months to the time, you would have set up a committee that will come up with a new proposal acceptable to all the stakeholders before it expires. The minimum wage we have today expired in the month of April 2024, and they are still dilly-dallying, moving front and back. Okay, in the first place, how can you come to the Federal Executive Council and say you are withdrawing such a sensitive memo? Is it that you didn't know the stakeholders to consult before the Executive Council meeting? Is it that the presidency was not aware of the right people to consult, or that they didn't know what they were supposed to, how to cross the T's and dot the I's before the Federal Executive Council meeting? They are just merely buying time, and they're trying to also pacify the governors, because the governors are also playing a kind of mind game on Nigerian workers by coming out to say that they won't be able to pay 62,000 naira. Because if they are fighting against 62,000, if they are telling you that they cannot pay 62,000, invariably you won't have the stamina to continue fighting for higher pay.
Exactly.
When they are quarreling, when they are even telling
they can't
you
even pay
that they can't even pay 62,000. That is why I said they are just playing mind game on us, because they know that with such a stance we may not be strong enough to push further. That is what they are doing. Otherwise, okay, even as they talk, even as they tell you they can't pay 62,000, some of them have forgotten that a state like Edo State is already paying 70,000. Where is he getting the money from? Where is he getting it from? Is Edo State the highest paying state in Nigeria in terms of federal allocation? The answer is no. So, and when you look at all those things, who is fooling who? They know how much they are dishing out on a regular basis. Even let me tell you one disturbing issue in this country. Our leaders must learn from what is happening around us. Look at what is going on in Kenya. We may not have the strength to come out and start protesting in the street, but they should know that what is happening in Kenya did not start in a day. It was a kind of long pressure on the people that led them to the streets. And when people are crying and complaining and they're not listening, you are boiling water, and when it gets to a point, it will start spilling. That is what they don't understand, because people are really getting agitated. If you go out there, you see how agitated Nigerians are, such that people have become so aggressive. Every little thing, people flare up. You may think you are the problem, but they have a lot of issues on their heads. You can imagine the kind of economic burdens and all that facing Nigerians. So ordinary statement that can be tolerated, by the way, you see the person flaring up. That is because of a lot of stress. And it continues building up until at a point when Nigerians will get to building point. So if they do understand all these things, they can be continuously messing us up. One, the president told us that the major problem Nigeria was having economic crisis was fuel subsidy. Over 1 year now, the fuel subsidy was removed. In fact, within a month or two after removing subsidy, he started telling us the trillions they've saved. Today, nobody is talking about the money saved. Rather, they are going around the whole world borrowing money. we borrow from China, but borrow from all forms of foreign organizations, and bring indebtedness on generations to come. And when you look at all these things, does it show that we have a headway? So if you told us that subsidy was a problem and removed the only social benefit that citizens of this country have, at the end of the day, you are still borrowing even worse than before. There is no economic improvement anywhere, no infrastructural improvement anywhere. That tells you that the stealing has just changed hand. It has not solved the problem. What we just have is that maybe those that were stealing it from the point of subsidy have now been pushed aside, and some other people have come through another conduit, another channel, to siphon the fund. So what is then the essence? It would have even been better that Nigerians have that subsidy where they could at least benefit after the thieves would have stolen the much they could. But now they are stealing without any benefit for Nigerians. They are rather removing subsidy even from electricity. You can see what the cost of a unit of electricity is today. And we know quite well, you know, some people outside there will always tell us, have started with this notion that we shouldn't be fighting for salary increase, we should rather fight for the economy to be stabilized. We've been doing that even before now, even before this 2024 that we started minimum wage issue. We've been fighting, we've gone on strike on several occasions, not on the basis of minimum wage. Even the electricity we are talking about is still for the economy to stabilize. So if anybody thinks we are not fighting for all those other economic indices, we've been doing that. Look at the way we stood against them on the issue of subsidy removal. We were insisting that they should fix the refineries, because one thing we do in labor movement is that we don't come out to just say you must do it this way. We'll give you reasons. If we are saying that what you are doing is wrong, we'll tell you why it's wrong, and we'll bring alternatives. So we told them that if we want to remove subsidy, the refineries must be functional, so that we will not depend on exchange rate, so that we will not continue pushing our crude out of this country. But if you look at what is happening, even when we have a private refinery in Nigeria and the oil companies in Nigeria cannot give crude to the private refinery in Nigeria, they will prefer shipping the crude outside the country. That already tells you that something is wrong somewhere. That tells you that what is really the cause of our sickness has not actually been diagnosed.
Oh, wow.
So, or rather, some people know the cause, but they don't want to face it squarely. They are running around it. So, if you look at our demand for 250,000 naira, it is for us to manage it, because when you remove all the conditions attached, in that initial demand of 400 and something thousand naira, or rather 615,000, we were demanding for about 20,000 naira for the electricity bill. You and I know quite well that that goes nowhere in Nigeria today, especially when they tell you that you're in band A. Now, if the issue of banding Nigerians, A, B, C, and whatever, is another Shylock approach. Because why I say this Shylock business approach is that I don't understand why you will supply 10 units of electricity, or 10 kilowatts as it's being called, to Mr. A, and tell him that each unit is 200 and something naira, and you supply maybe 4 units to Mr. B and tell him that his own is 60 naira or 40 naira. What is the difference between the kilowatts you gave to Mr. A and the one you gave to Mr. B? What is the reason? What is can anybody, they have not actually told us the professional rationale behind banding Nigerians. You just feel that maybe the person you are giving up to 20 hours per day is rich and you can exploit him. Exploitation is exploitation. Whether you do it on the poor or on the rich, it doesn't matter. You cannot play down on exploitation simply because the Mr. A you are exploiting is a rich man. No, we shouldn't have such impression. Mm-hmm. So we believe that banding Nigerians is another economic criminality. It's another economic criminality going on under the nose of all Nigerians, and everybody is keeping quiet because we haven't understood the reason for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. When eventually the federal government and Labour agrees on a particular amount for the minimum wage, okay, that is the government workers will be benefiting, and even some private persons who are working in some private establishments. So what happens to business owners? In what way will they benefit? Because the other day I was interacting with one person who is a business person. So he now said that he's just waiting for the government to, that the moment they make a pronouncement that this is the amount they are increasing the minimum wage to, bam, they will increase the prices of things from what it is already.
I don't know who the other person is, but it's one of the problems we have in the country.
Okay.
No matter who he is, he's one of the problems. Why I say that is that, number one, increase in the salaries of workers does not change the cost of production.
Exactly.
It does not change the petroleum pump price. It does not change other things that would have caused increase in the cost of all those commodities. All the while they have been increasing and increasing since 2019. Has anybody increased for the workers? Why must they be so selfish? Because they keep saying that we are selfish, but they are the selfish people we have in this country. You have increasing the prices of everything, the price of everything in the country, including water. A sachet of water, you know how much it was sold before. Today, can you buy a sachet of water? Even to buy a sachet of water for 20 naira is a big deal. And somebody is telling us if once it's done, we'll go and increase our own because we are not benefiting from it. All the while you've been increasing, have you asked the workers how they've been managing the same amount to face the level of inflation in the country? That is wickedness. I say it again, it's wickedness. Because anybody that reasons well shouldn't think that way. In the first place, if you're a businessman, who do you sell to? How does government bring out the money to the public? The circulating fund, how does it come out from central bank? Does it come to, you just come to the market and start throwing it to them? Even the politicians, when they get their own money, they go to Dubai to shop. They go to America, they go to other foreign countries to shop. It is these workers that many people are becoming unnecessarily envious of, because we are talking about mere increase in their salaries after 5 years with all this economic crisis, and people are just busy saying you shouldn't increase. If you increase, it will increase the price of commodities. That is wickedness, because they have been increasing, and we've been facing all these things with the mere amounts we collect on monthly basis. Monthly, a good number of them that are businessmen cannot even survive for half a week with what a worker takes for a whole month. And you are coming up to say, if we are not paid, those of them that are business workers, businessmen and women, will also starve. Because you go out there and wait for that worker who has earned his salary to come and buy the rice you are selling, to come and buy the yam you are selling. In fact, if you are not paid your salary, do you think of clothes to buy? All of them, those of them, even the boutiques in the street and inside the market, they will be sleeping there. Because you will first of all get the money to eat before going to buy clothes. So they should be rejoicing with the workers, because they know quite well that if there is increase in their salaries, that is the only time they will have their businesses thriving. Because by the time you increase the salaries of workers, they will have higher purchasing power. When you have higher purchasing power, you can go into the market and have something to spend. Then those businessmen and women in the market, it will still land in their hands. So yes, it may be that when you want to pay salary, you pay Ben and so on. But I know quite well that the salary that I earned for this month is already almost over. And I know that it's not in the hands of my fellow workers. It's in the hands of businessmen, where I went to buy one thing or the other. Even the coke to drink, even the water to drink, the clothes to wear, the food to give to your family. In fact, the whole money has now gone back to the business people. So we are the stimulators of the economy. If we are not well paid, they should be rest assured that their businesses will collapse. They should be the first people to appreciate it. But do they want us to tell government to come and start sharing money in the street? Even the palliative we told them to share, how far did they go? What level of benefit did they give to the Nigerians? So we know that this is the most effective channel of activating the economy. So they shouldn't be saying that. I wish I was in the studio with that person.
No, he wasn't in the studio.
Okay,
I was just
because
interviewing
they have
person.
said these things time without number.
Yes.
I get, in fact, bored. I feel headache when I hear some people saying if you pay them salary, things will increase. Let me tell you, even the increase we are talking about is on the basis of the economic realities of today. And let me also tell you my fear. By the time we get whatever minimum wage, even if it's 250,000, what do you think will happen in the next 2 years or 3 years what will be the value of this same money based on the rate of inflation today. So Nigerians should also learn to be less selfish,
Yeah.
because we are also becoming too exploitative on ourselves, even as we talk about government. Though I won't blame them, because government has even lost the grip of the system in a situation where there is no control, price control anymore, because even the ones that are within the corridors of government to control, like petroleum pump price, go out to the city there, to the street, you see filling stations selling at whatever the price they like. Most of them, their meter is either halfway or whatever. What we now do is comparative analysis. If you cut 100 mils from your own per liter, and some other person costs 150, will say that your own is complete. They say that your own is complete because what you reduced is far lower than the other person's own.
Yeah.
Not that your own is complete, and nobody is talking to them.
Yeah.
So if not that government has lost the grip of the people they are leading, all these things wouldn't have been happening. There should have been a good system for price control.
Yeah. There is need to look into it quite well. The organized private sector, they've been threatening that if the review goes above the 62,000 naira that the federal government is currently proposing, that they might not be able to pay. Do you think that this might lead to job losses, especially to those who are working with private establishments?
Why we sympathize with private sector organizations, they should also understand one thing. Even as we talk today, almost all of them are paying more than that 62,000.
Of course.
Most of them are paying about 70-something thousand, 78,000 or thereabouts as the minimum wage as we talk. So if they did not crash for paying 78,000 naira, why are they now telling us that if we go beyond 62,000 naira, they will suddenly crash? I don't understand that. Then they have to also understand that there is a relativity between productivity and remuneration. If you are well paid, your level of productivity and concentration will increase.
Will increase, that's right.
So that is what they haven't understood. If they want to try it, go and pay people peanuts and see how your organization will work. They will start looking for alternatives. Because man must survive. It's a natural phenomenon. If you walk into the studio and somebody says he will be paying you 20,000 naira per month or 10,000 per month, no problem. But let's see how it goes. You will start devising other means of surviving, because you must survive. If other means of survival around you must be looked into, you must consider it. You must exploit every avenue. So, and that is why they should understand that when we talk about wage increase, it's not for their businesses to go down. It also helps to encourage the workers to concentrate. If you have financial burden, and from the medical discipline, if you have financial burden, even when somebody is explaining his own health issue to you, you are also not healthy, because the definition of good health does not just have to do with absence of pathological condition. No, a state of physical, mental, social, and financial well-being. So if you lack any of these well-being, you are not healthy. So if a doctor in the hospital, for instance, a pharmacist, a medical scientist, a nurse, is not reasonably paid and is financially down, one thing you should know is that you have two patients. One is taking care of the other.
Exactly.
That is the one thing they haven't understood.
Simple. Yeah.
Because he's also not healthy. So for him to be in the right frame of mind and take care of you, he should also be taken care of.
Yeah.
And likewise in every other field of endeavor. That is what those private sector organizations should understand. So when we talk about retrenchment and all those things, people keep on giving reasons, even when the need has not come. If you are threatening us with a retrenchment, one, we know why we didn't continue to stand on 615,000 naira. At a point, we started considering realities. But there is an extent to which you can manage. When we talk about managing what you have, you must have something to manage.
That's right.
It's not when you are empty. If any of the CEOs of the private organizations can sit down and analyze 62,000 naira that they are now singing like national anthem, let the person give us the formula. We've been waiting for them, any of the government officials or private sector organizations, to give us a breakdown of how a Nigerian can use 62,000 naira to survive feed himself, transport himself, pay for electricity, pay for medical bill, pay for his children, feed his own children, and do every other thing that is not for buoyancy, not for extravagance, but at least just to live and manage one's life. Let them tell us how a Nigerian can manage 62,000 naira with the economic realities in this country. If they can give us a breakdown of that, we'll take it.
Okay, I'm just hoping that wherever they are, that they are listening and they will do something about it in their regard. So, because of want of time, in 1 minute, can you tell us your aspiration for a Nigerian worker as regards a fair wage?
All right, for us to have a productive system and discourage the level of distraction we have today in the civil service, public service, there is need for the employers of labor to look critically into the remuneration aspect. And that has even become the reason that most Nigerians, it's no more youths only. Initially we said that youths are going into Japa, that Japa syndrome is for youths. Today I can tell you that there are people who have overgrown that level of that useful stuff, but they are leaving the country. Even some people who have grown in public service. Let me tell you, some few months ago, the person that I come next to in the office, we have the most senior person, that person before me. The person before me left the country. And that was surprising to me, because I felt within me that she has grown in the system to the extent that because they call her chief, she was, but after answering chief, and you are hungry, you cannot afford any meaningful thing. If anybody comes demanding for 50,000 naira, you go borrowing. You go borrowing, you go running around. And when if you complain to Mr. A will tell you he has problem of 200,000. You will not know if you are the one to help or you should be the one to help you. So when you look at such situation, nobody has now overgrown Japa except the politicians. If I must tell you the truth. Apart from the politicians, those that are in the corridors of power, that are living in their convenience zones, apart from those people, nobody has overgrown Japa in the country again. Every other person is a candidate for Japa and a suspect for Japa. And what I must say is that Nigerian government, in particular, should consider remuneration and other conditions associated with work conditions. You see, apart from the money you pay monthly, you look at every other benefit. For instance, if a worker retires, his retirement benefit should be there, like gratuity, monthly pension, and whatever. If all those things are there, people will work with relaxed mind. Do you know, if I go to work every day, and remember that anytime I retire, it will be to your tent, O Israel. If government pays you pension, it should be a magnanimity. You can imagine such situation. And gratuity has become a dream unrealizable. You see, when you consider all these things, it's enough to weigh a worker down. So my aspiration is for a country called Nigeria, a country where workers will earn their salary and have a sigh of relief. For a country where you work and when your retirement is coming, you start celebrating in advance. For a country where you will retire and grab an amount you may not have touched in your life as your gratuity. That is a country where the civil servants, public servants will have hope. Outside that, we are really hopeless.
Oh wow. I'm just hoping that it will not get to a point where we will be hopeless, because at this point, it is really terrible on each and every one of us. But I'm just hoping, and I'm sure, that you grabbed a whole lot from today's discussion on minimum wage and market dynamics, as we've been talking with Comrade Ben Asogwa, TUC Chairman, Enugu State. We appreciate you so much, sir, for being here today.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank
for
you
your
for having
insights,
me.
we appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Okay, you've heard it from him. So whoever you are, wherever you are, whether you are a business owner, whether you're a government person, it doesn't matter who you are, but at your capacity, play your own role, do your bit, take action today, and make whoever that is working for you or working under you happy. That way, they will give their all. They will be so productive. you won't have any problem with any of your workers. But when you don't pay them well, somebody who's with an empty stomach cannot deliver. You need to have that in mind. So on that note, we'll call it a day on today's edition of the program is Teaching Time, coming to you from Sunrise FM 96.1. I appreciate you so much for being there. And I will not be left alone here. I am also Comrade Precious Chikwekezie. Don't forget that your life is precious.